Hey everyone, thanks again for joining in on the latest Statflo Spotlight series. Today we have Derek Lindstrom from Next Generation Wireless, a authorized US cellular dealer, with us to talk about what the last few months has looked like for him and his team. Derek, thanks so much for hopping on. It's a pleasure to chat, as always.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe we could just kick things off, just a quick introduction about Next Generation, who you guys are, what you stand for, and then, tell us all about how you come into play and your part in the whole machine.
Sure. So Next Generation Wireless, we're a authorized U.S. cellular agent formed in 2001. We span across 12 locations in 2 states, in Iowa and Illinois. So we've been in business for about 19 years. I am an area sales manager with the organization, and I oversee sales and development of 7 of our locations, all based in East Iowa.
Awesome. Do you find yourself in store frequently? Are you making the rounds? Or
on a normal time frame, yes, I'm usually in my stores every day and traveling amongst all 7. But travel's been a little bit limited. But yes, I'm present in each location.
Awesome. I know everyone has been talking about COVID nonstop the last few months and largely about the bad, but today, Derek and his team have some interesting results that honestly, are quite interesting and have a positive element to them. So anyone who's wary about more, negative COVID stuff, fear not. This is a different kind of discussion. But to your point, travel's been limited, and in-store experience has changed. What does that look like for your locations?
So it's similar to what everyone else has been seeing. Traffic's been sporadic. You don't know what days are going to be the busy days anymore. It's really hard to predict, and everyone's kind of just being overly cautious. So it's made it a little difficult to kind of predict, hey, we're going to be in a busy month this month, or this is going to be our busy day. It's really been hard to predict for the most part.
I think everyone can relate to that. So you just take it as it comes. And then maybe stepping back just a little bit. I think you and I have been working together, I think as long as I've been at Statflo, which I just recently hit my 1 year. So how did you guys come across Statflo? And, I'd love to, we can chat about this later, but hear about how Statflo played a part in your pre-COVID business, just to, give our listeners a little bit more context here.
Yeah, we had heard about Statflo quite a while before we actually signed up with Statflo itself. We talked to other agents. We talked to, just get a general idea of what their thoughts and their feelings were. And we sat down and kind of listened through a spiel from one of the larger agents here in Iowa and just got their take on it. And finally decided to pull the trigger. We had been doing customer outreach prior to getting Statflo. It was just a very primitive way. It was pulling old customer logs, putting them in a giant Excel sheet, and then it was shared internally, and associates would just work their way down the list and call customers. And there was no way to really see the results, no real way to have any sort of accountability with it. And so Statflo checked a lot of the boxes of things that we needed to be more effective in that area.
So, maybe we can, and it's to all of our listeners, it's always been a pleasure working with Derek and Next Gen. You guys are always on top of your stuff, and I think your results, Statflo and otherwise, speak to that. So, I put a little teaser out there earlier about, your successes throughout this period. Maybe, we can have a retrospective here and look at let's say mid to late March, what were things looking like for you? And then where has the business gone since then?
So mid to late March, when everything was kind of picking up and there's a lot of uncertainty about what was going to happen. You hear about businesses that were shutting their doors or having to shut down because of rules and regulations. We were faced with the same challenges. And so we expected traffic to just continue to decline to the point where we weren't sure if we needed as much staff on hand as we were going to need. So, we went through a lot of the same pains that a lot of businesses went through of having to furlough staff and make adjustments and reduce our hours and things like that to just be proactive and set ourselves up for future success. But be I'd be surprised to say, that it didn't last as long as we thought it would. We saw that dive for maybe 2-3 weeks. And then about beginning of April, when we look back at our numbers and our trends, that's where things started to go back up, and sales started to increase, traffic started to increase again. And, we had the couple of weeks that followed that mid-March timeframe where we saw declines. We had some of our most productive times with a reduced amount of staff during that 6 to 8 week period that followed.
And that's like just crazy to me. Like even, our business was affected. We definitely saw declines ourselves here. And so were you guys, just taking it as it came, or were you proactive in being like, okay, things are changing, we need to adjust our business to accommodate these changes? What was the mentality of your leadership?
It was a lot of just analyzing first. We wanted to be proactive, but we didn't want to overreact either. We didn't want to go to the extent of, shutting down entire days or anything like that. So it was a mix of being proactive with the things that made immediate sense, and then kind of a wait and see as to how that worked from there on out, if we wanted to make further adjustments or, get more strict with restrictions and things like that. So it was a little bit of a learning approach. Obviously, we've never been through anything like this before, as many other businesses have.
You haven't been through a global pandemic before?
My first pandemic. I don't know about anyone else, but that was our approach. Was we didn't want to just go all out and just start shutting down stores if it didn't make sense. And so, we were kind of conservative at first just to see how it went, and then made our adjustments along the way. And so,
I know you and I have talked about this before, but curbside was a big game changer for you guys, yes?
Yes, absolutely. As we saw other businesses kind of starting to, like restaurants and things like that, really starting to lean into curbside, we started to really evaluate how can we accommodate, if the customers aren't comfortable coming in the store, how do we get to them?
And so, I think everyone, to various degrees, across all of the agents and dealers that we work with, we've seen different types of curbside, and it looks a little different for everyone. So maybe you could share what you guys did and what this process looks like at any of the next generation locations.
We've used Statflo as a non-intrusive way to begin some dialogue. The associates felt really comfortable with it as ways of getting conversations going about maybe getting a new phone or adding an iPad or whatever that may look like, because it's not a phone call. It's just a message. Customers can respond if they want to, and if they don't, associates aren't getting hung up on that. So we use that opportunity when we were talking to customers and using the revised messages that were more just checking in, saying, hey, how are you doing through all this? We know that staying in touch with friends and family is important. Is your device working okay? There were customers that were still showing a lot of interest in saying, hey, I do need a new device, or whatever that looks like. And so we use that opportunity to just say, hey, so you're aware, we offer curbside service at this moment. And customers were interested and wanting to know more. So we talked through the process with them. And what that basically looked like for us is reducing that wait time in store and being able to just pull up, get your phone, do a couple things on your account or transfer some stuff, and then send you on your way. And that appealed to a lot of customers because they don't like waiting, and especially when they didn't like being out in public in general. This was kind of suiting a lot of the things that they were looking for. So we would do that consultation over the phone with them. Once they agreed and thought that sounded like a good idea, we'd call them and we'd talk through things and just get an idea like they would if they were face to face, just to make sure that we were meeting all their needs, getting them in a device that was going to work for them, falling within their budgets and whatever that looked like. We have a tool that we use to prepare a quote and be able to send to them and just get an agreement on pricing, any extra features, add-ins, things like that. Once we get that agreement, we let them know that we're going to start working on getting your phone on the account, and then we send them the paperwork digitally. Our customer interaction system allows us to send paperwork through Adobe Sign. So they get it in their email. They can open it up from their mobile device and then sign it all from there. And we tell customers that usually at that point, once you're done signing everything, that's a good time to get in your car and head down to the store. And then we have everything typically ready by the time they get there. When they pull up, we can run out and grab their phone, start getting things set up for a transfer, or we can provide them with instructions on how to do transfer. We can put their accessories on, We can collect payment, all those things when they pull up, and then they're in store maybe 5 minutes or less.
Did you mention that you were offering a curbside bundle of some kind?
Yeah, when we really started looking at things and how we were adjusting to everything that was going on, we saw some of our locations that were doing really well with curbside. We're also seeing declines in their accessories. So we had this curbside bundle that we were positioning to customers where they could get the essentials, their case, screen protector, and a charger. And as part of that bundle, we were discounting that bundle as a whole to tell them, like, this is a special curbside offer to, since you're going to be pulling up and just getting your stuff and going, we're going to make this quick and easy for you, getting all the things that you need to protect your phone. And so here's what we're offering. And a lot of customers like that because of one bundle price and we get everything they need.
When did you guys introduce that into the curbside process?
We had bundles as part of our normal sales routine for weeks prior, but we really started focusing on that curbside bundle verbiage about maybe 2 weeks in when we started to see, when we had a little bit more data about how curbside is working and starting to identify locations that were doing really well with it and seeing how that impacted their sales. Then we started to really integrate that curbside bundle verbiage and package into the overall interaction.
Interesting. So the stores who maybe didn't have the adoption rate or the high adoption rate of curbside that the other stores did, their attachment rate was maybe more normal. And then you saw stores who were excelling at curbside, their attachment rate decreased, hence the curbside bundle.
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting. And so some of those, what do you think was the difference between those stores who adopted curbside really well versus those maybe who didn't?
I think, a lot of times what we see in our industry is that sometimes we're slow to change. This industry moves so fast. So trying any new process takes a little bit of, they want to see it working first. So some of those locations, they went right in with it and the customers were more receptive, I saw, in areas where we were having higher numbers of cases. And so that also helped. Some of our stores that really got going with it were the areas that had higher numbers of cases of COVID right out of the gate. But once we started sharing some of those successes amongst other stores, then they started trying it more and saw how easy of a process it was. And then from there, it continued to grow and grow and grow. The
in-store traffic that you were receiving, the purchase intent there, what was that like?
We saw a really interesting trend where our traffic was somewhat down, but the amount of people that were coming in with the intent to purchase was up. We saw between 50 to 75% of our customers that were coming through the door were coming through the door to buy something, which was different. Usually we had, and I think a lot of the normal customer service type items, customers were realizing that, hey, I can get that taken care of over the phone, or this isn't a priority. And so that left the people who absolutely needed devices or just was ready to get something new. Those were the ones that were left to come into the store because it wasn't something they necessarily wanted to do through a telesales or online.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, if people are going to leave their home, they're going out with a purpose and they know what they're looking for, you would think. So that's pretty cool. You saw that in person, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so did everyone feel, were people reaching out, those who did need to come in the store and maybe wanted to bypass curbside, were some of those or some of that traffic instigated by Statflo reach out, letting people know what to expect in store? How did that kind of play out?
Yeah, Statflo was definitely a good way to get the word out that we were offering it. Customers even now are still calling as a courtesy of what's your guys' policy, what's your guys' approach. But Statflo just made it easier to just let people know this is what we're offering. And now that especially that we have it in our designated chat starters, it helps just proactively get the word out, whether they ask about it or not, just telling them that it is available. Because that does, once we tell them we do offer some sort of curbside approach, they're a little bit more willing to kind of hear us out and hear what we can do for them. Even outside of a pandemic, customers' least favorite thing to do is wait in a store. And so, when we tell them, hey, well, you can just get this started on your way home from work and then swing by and pick it up, a lot of customers are really open to that. So when people have been calling the stores, we've been telling them that we offer it proactively through Statflo. We've been offering it, and customers have really gravitated towards that option.
So COVID aside, curbside, does it stay or does it go? What part is it going to play going forward?
Definitely going to stay, and it's something we're going to continue to evaluate. How do we make it even more efficient? How do we figure out ways to attack that accessory take rates thing by being able to maybe send them a inventory list of what we have that maybe they can shop before they come into the store and say, hey, I want this case and this screen protector, or whatever that looks like. But we're very excited when we think about curbside and what that could do. We're very excited for the holiday time frame, because one of our customers' biggest pain points is during the holidays is they know it's going to be busy. So they either grin and bear it and come into the store and wait for an hour or two and not be happy about that, or they just don't come in all because they don't want to have to wait. So we can tackle both of those and not only take care of people that are walking through the door, but also be able to strategically lay out our day and plan around curbside options and say, maybe we make 3 or 4 extra sales a day because customers literally just have to show up, grab their phone and go, rather than come into the store and just add to those lines and those wait times.
So I'm curious, how are your reps doing? I mean, how's the front line, working through all this? I mean, I think you mentioned that USL was great in providing PPE to everyone, to all your locations, and supporting you guys in that way. How's your team kind of worked through all of this and been able to keep business as normal as possible? Clearly they've done a great job for you. So how's that sort of worked out?
Yeah, I got to hand it to the sales staff. They've been great, just staying positive and working through it. We've had some very busy days and they've worked through it, even though we've been on limited staff in some instances for a little while there. I think that it helped when we work in a commission-based environment and they're faced with adversity. As long as the commission is there to help them through it, it definitely makes it worthwhile. If it would have been a different scenario and we had reduced staff and the traffic was down, the attitudes might have gone a little differently. But they embraced the opportunity. They worked through it really well. For those that stayed on, they did a great job just handling things and just being able to take care of customers the best they could, and adapting to all the adversity that we've been dealing with. For the people that have come back, it's been refreshing because they've hit the ground running and just really taken off and kind of jumped right in with both feet and got going again. So, it's been overall, despite everything that's been going on, they've done a great job just staying positive, keeping looking forward and just making the most of every interaction.
That's exactly what you want to hear. So that's awesome. So you've got your incentives in place for them. What did the aspect of accountability look like? I mean, assuming you wanted to still be as aggressive as was appropriate, but how did you, set different goals? Did the goals for your reps stay the same, whether that's Statflo or otherwise?
Yeah, a lot of our expectations stayed pretty similar in terms of outreach expectations. We did set sales goals, but I can tell you confidently that it was very hard to set specific numbers because we just didn't know. We didn't know, if it was going to be a slow month, it was going to be a busy month. I know there was a lot of conversations that we had when we were trying to set goals of, I think it's going to do this, I think it's going to do that, and then it ends up going in a complete different direction. So what we focused on, especially with things like curbside and just a different type of interaction with our customers than we've had in the past, we started looking at more of the attachments, accessories, attachment, device protection attachments, connected device attachments, and things like trade-ins and stuff like that. We started really just looking at that and trying to analyze more of, hey, if they're doing 10 phones, how many of those 10 have this, this, and this, rather than saying, hey, they've only sold 10 phones, because it's just been such a real different world. It's been hard to really set a number and say you need to achieve this when we don't even really know what's going to walk through the door.
For sure. So, I mean, I asked you earlier, of course, a totally non-biased question, but, you explained to me your relationship with Statflo and the part it played in your in your business before COVID. How do you think, it will continue to hold a space in your business? How do you think, whether it's the campaigns that you run, whether it's the chat starters that you offer, Any thoughts about, what that might look like?
I think Statflo is going to continue to play a big part of what we do on a daily basis. And for the reasons that I said earlier, it's a non-intrusive way to just get a message out to our customers that customers can kind of take it from there as if they want to respond or not. And a lot of the success from it is the associates' outlook on things. When we did calls and we went that kind of old school way of going through just picking up the phone and calling people, I heard a lot of this many people didn't pick up. But when we shifted to Statflo, it was more of this many people responded, which maybe was the number of non-responses was still maybe a little higher or whatever that looked like, but they were focusing more on the people that were responding rather than the people that weren't, where when we did calls, it was the exact opposite. They were getting hung up on the people that weren't answering or calling them back. So
objection handling, it can beat you down after a little while. I totally get that.
Exactly. And they can contact 100 plus people in less than an hour. So it's a really quick way to get outreach out there. And so we're going to continue to utilize Statflo to just reach our customers and promote new ways we're doing business, just try to promote things that we have going on in our stores and just get the message out there as quickly and without being obnoxious so that they're all aware of what we have going on and how our business is adapting to these times.
Again, non-biased, but it has been quite cool just to see with this whole new retail experience, how you can still provide that top-notch customer experience, keeping people loyal, building those relationships, how that unfortunately has to change from, what we're used to and being so face-to-face oriented, and how you can still have an element of that just in as a different medium. So I'm looking forward to seeing how your team, takes that by the horns. I know they will, based on everything we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're, at the point where I ask about the retrospective and what you guys, this is totally free range bragging rights. Go for it. About what you think you did right, maybe what you would have done a little differently. Anything of that nature coming to mind?
I think we were very proactive when everything started to kind of ramp up in terms of cases and businesses that were making adjustments and shutting down and things like that. We were proactively looking at how do we adapt? How do we avoid shutting down? How do we avoid laying people off? And how do we make sure that we're still being as efficient and productive as possible during this time frame? So, we were looking into curbside right away. It went a lot of different directions of, do we do curbside? Do we do delivery? Do we do all these different things that take us to the customer or make it easy for the customer without putting customers or associates at risk from having multiple people coming through our door every day? Right. And so I think what we did right was just really being proactive at this and not just taking so much of a wait and see approach through the entire thing.
I'm so glad that it's played out well for you. Like, seriously, we hear so many, I know so many businesses unfortunately suffered, but it's always nice to hear a success case where things just worked out properly and people contributed as much as they could and you saw those positive results. So that's awesome. And my final question for you today is really just, if you were giving any advice to businesses maybe who are still struggling, still trying to find out what works best for them now, what would you say to them?
I would say you just got to keep evaluating and looking at the way you do business. And the biggest thing I think both now and going forward that's going to be more important to customers is convenience. How do we make the experience as convenient as possible? And that's really what's going to make the difference between your location versus the competitors down the street. Within our area here in Cedar Rapids, there's 5 U.S. Cellular's within a 2-mile radius. So, we need to stand out. We need to figure out how do we get people coming here. And if we promote things like curbside and bundles and things like that, it's going to set us apart from what everyone else is doing and make customers, it's going to get that word of mouth out that, hey, I went to this store and I was only there for 5 minutes. I didn't have to wait 2 hours like I did at this other location. So
totally.
it just, that's the biggest thing. Like, convenience is the most important thing to our customers, and time is one of the most important things. So, if you can figure out ways to just work around those things and, give customers back time and make it more convenient for them, it's going to always work out well.
Well said. I tried to order some lunch the other day from an Italian bakery nearby, and they are like the only place that I've come across that isn't on some kind of like pre-order app, pickup, like outside pickup. And I had to call them and I was like, do you guys not offer any sort of, expedited food service? And they're like, oh no, you can just come in. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm adjusted to the convenience of not having to wait a second, and I know exactly when my food's going to be ready, and I can just go pick it up. So I think that is a very wise piece of advice to all of just to anyone in retail in any capacity. So, I mean, you've given me some great pieces of advice here. If anyone else wanted to potentially continue the conversation or pick your brain on anything else that you've mentioned today, where can folks find you? Yeah,
so my email is a good way to get a hold of me. It's Derek Lindstrom, DEREK LINDSTROM at ngwtoday.com, NGW for Next Generation Wireless. And also you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a message on there. I'd be more than happy to help or give more insight into what we've done and how Statflo has played a role in that.
That's awesome. So yeah, if anyone has any other questions, if I have missed anything, you now know where to find Derek. Derek, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to chat, and I think everyone will find your approach on this situation extremely interesting and very helpful. So
thank you very
much. And we look forward to seeing, the future of Next Gen and where you guys take things.
Thank you.